Hello and welcome aboard to this episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to following the entire story of One Piece from beginning to end as we focus on one volume each episode. We keep the discussion spoiler-free for new fans of the series, so this is the perfect place to follow along, whether you're new to the series or just want to revisit the world of One Piece with us. This week, we'll actually be covering Netflix's special Monsters. So while not technically One Piece, I think you'll see as we go over the story here, it's actually still tied to the canon of One Piece. So I wanted to incorporate it into the podcast. So this is going to be a little bonus episode.
Really cool idea. I love this.
Yeah, so the Netflix series just came out pretty recently. So I figured now is a good time to talk about it since it's directly related to where we are in the story. So I think this is like the perfect time to talk about it.
It is the perfect time to talk about it, especially right after last episode. I was like super hyped about the story.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that I don't have a recap from volume 48, but we did have some cool moments. We got to see Zoro fighting Ryuma, and we saw how that played out. So yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about this right now after we've read that volume, so we can have a full discussion about this story. All right, so I'm going to give a summary for the episode. It's just one episode. That's all it is. But essentially, it was a one-shot that was in Oda's collection called Wanted. So there's a series of one-shots that had a version of One Piece. It was a one-shot version of One Piece, which Cody and I had mentioned before, and it came up in the SBS question. So it was actually brought up recently in the SBS that this is the same Ryuma that showed up in Thrill Bark. Okay, so Monsters. 10 years ago, a dragon's horn was stolen. The horn was a treasure that was said to have great power. Present day, at a restaurant, the legendary swordsman Shirano enjoys a meal while word spreads that he was in town. The waitress, Flair, recognizes the swordsman from 7 years ago. Another traveler, Ryuma the samurai, arrives and is starving. Flair feeds him and he offers to someday repay the debt, but she's more focused on reconnecting with her old friend. As Shirano departs, his scabbard bumps Ryuma's. Ryuma considers this a challenge to a duel. Shirano dodges the attack, then places his sword beneath Ryuma's neck and declares himself the winner, and then leaves. Meanwhile, another figure named DR appears in town. At the bar, the bartender tells Ryuma about the incident 7 years ago, known as the surprise attack. The dragon wiped out Flair's hometown. Shirano had survived the attack, saving Flair's life. Unfortunately, there were no other survivors. The bartender says that the incident caused people to recognize Shirano as a legendary swordsman, one who may even be as good as the world's greatest swordsman known as the King. Ryuma would love to fight him someday, but no one knows who he is. Ryuma leaves the bar and then has another altercation when DR's scabbard bumps into his. DR makes a scene, claiming Ryuma stabbed him in the stomach for no reason in order to take his treasure, the dragon's horn. He says he'll take him and the whole town out with him and blows the horn to summon the dragon. The town panics and evacuates, blaming Ryuma. Flair sees the crowd ganging up on him. She slaps him and says she regrets feeding him. She says that he doesn't know what horror he brought on the town, but Ryuma denies being responsible. Shirano arrives, confirming the authenticity of the horn. He offers to fight the dragon for the town. Flair says no one can defeat a dragon, and he would be throwing his life away. Shirano understands, but wants one chance to redeem himself for failing to protect his comrades and the horn the last time. All the other citizens have now evacuated the town except for Ryuma and Flair. Flair decides she can't let Shirano throw his life away and goes to stop him. Ryuma pulls the sword out and tells Flair not to go and just leave the town, telling her not to look behind her. She doesn't listen and turns around to see Shirano was looting treasure from the town with DR. They had orchestrated the event to blow the dragon horn. They laugh at Flair's misfortune for having ended up in this town as well after surviving the other dragon attack. At least this wasn't a surprise attack, so they didn't have to kill everyone this time. Turns out Shirano and DR used a dragon 7 years ago to set the town on fire and kill everyone, including Flair's parents, and took all their treasure. Flair had survived, begging Shirano for help. He used the opportunity to gain fame. Now knowing the truth, Flair tells Ryuma to leave town, but she'll stay here. She heads inside and breaks down into tears while Ryuma listens from outside. Ryuma confronts the frauds. Shirano says that he'll kill Ryuma, put the blame on him. Ryuma cuts him down to DR's disbelief. DR pleads to let him live, as he's the only one who can control the dragon. The villagers outside the town see the dragon arrive as it starts to set it on fire. Forrest steps outside and sees the dragon and is ready to die with this town. Suddenly, Ryuma runs up to the dragon, jumps on its back as it takes off. He jumps into the air, cutting the dragon's head off. He tells Flare to stop thinking about ending her life, and doesn't sound fun to be dead. He tells her that he told her that he would pay her back someday. The townspeople can't believe the samurai defeated a dragon and that Shirano was a villain. The bartender from before now remembers they call the world's greatest swordsman Ryuma the King.
That name sounds familiar.
All right. So yeah, that was pretty much the entire episode. So it was a little bit wordy, but yeah, I wanted to give a full breakdown of what actually happened. So who wants to start off on this one?
I guess for me, I just love the fact that Oda was able to work this into all of One Piece. I just watched it right before hopping on with my roommate, who's an avid D&D player. And the first thing when I told her about like the way this was looped into canon, she was like, "God, that's just the most D&D shit ever." And I always liken One Piece like just like Oda being like the world's best dungeon master playing in a campaign with himself.
Yeah.
That felt very exciting to me.
How does Oda tie into it?
He's a writer.
Got it. So
he wrote the story and they adapted it into an anime.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was originally just one chapter of a manga. It was like a one-shot chapter. So this is it's a very faithful adaptation of the actual story from the manga.
Amazing. The one-off you never knew you needed until you know. It was perfect. Like I was super hyped last episode. So to get some sword lore here and Ryuma lore, I was just all about it.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to expect going into it, so I was very pleased. I thought the show looked great. I thought the animation was great.
Yeah.
Characters were great. Plot was great. No notes. I was hyped. And the direct tie-in at the end too was a nice touch. Really.
Yeah. So I did admit it, but there is a brief scene where Zoro has defeated Ryuma, and they have the moment where Zoro gets Shusui. But yeah, that's why I wanted to at least wait till we had gotten to this point in the story, because there is that little scene at the end.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
So glad you had me watch that. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I figure it's also right up your alley, especially from our last conversation. Like, yeah, from the stuff that you've been enjoying from One Piece, I think this is a nice way to incorporate that.
Yep. I've been dying for Zoro to replace his sword.
Yeah, did you also notice that Shusui was actually the sword that was being used by Ryuma during the episode?
Oh, no, I did not.
Yeah, because also you've been reading the manga in black and white, but you actually, if you watch this episode, you'll see Shusui in beautiful colors. So.
Oh wait, no, I do notice it because
Okay.
when he bumped the scabbard the first time, I did notice because of the designs on the scabbard.
Yeah. And how about you, Sean?
Yeah, it's a fun little like, because there's a couple of these throughout like manga I know of, like it's like the proto works from authors who have gone on to make these like huge spanning sagas and stuff, and it's cool to see the little DNA of this before. It's like, oh, here's the kernel of this idea of some of the themes and some of the humor and some of the like world building or something that we could later see translated into their magnum opus, quote unquote, or something. I knew from the start, but I had not read this or watched it as it was until I vaguely was aware of its existence, but I knew from the start that I was like, okay, something's up with this Cyrano guy. Like, there's no fucking way that this is. But for what it's worth, I assumed it was. I didn't think he was a full-on villain. I assumed he was just like a coward who still lied, but
Yeah.
was like just another survivor or something who was just profiting off the fame. But no, he is the titular monster of the story along with his buddy. Like it is like he is far more than just a coward. He is literally a serial killer. Like it's wow. Whew, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Were you
it's a
getting,
pretty dense story. Like,
Mhm.
go ahead, Evan.
I was gonna say, were you guys getting Mihawk vibes? Strictly
Yeah.
visually, like strictly
Yeah,
character
yeah.
design. I was kind of getting
could
like the
definitely say, yeah.
Zoro Mihawk vibes. character
Ryuma's hair
design.
also has that green tint to it too, which I didn't notice until this.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
And that fantastic mustache.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's kind of a lot packed into this this one story. So it's a little meaty because like it has a nice story from like beginning to end. So like you have a lot that I think it really does make you want more too. Because I'm like after I read it
Mhm.
before, I was like, man,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this is like I really enjoy this. Like I would love to see more of this series. It's
Mhm.
kind of a shame that like we don't have more of it. Like I mean, I love that we have like One Piece. Like I would take One Piece for sure, but like it's just like it would be nice to have both. But
Like if this
I'd
could
be
have been
asking
like,
for way too much.
if this could be like the Yu Yu Hakusho to One Piece's Hunter x Hunter, I wouldn't complain, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's just like with One Piece becoming as popular as it is, like I love that we got One Piece. It's just I feel like this story had a lot of potential too. So it's great that at least one of these stories that Oda had like really took off. But I think this really kind of shows too that even from the beginning, Oda had a lot of ideas, and it was really fun that he was able to incorporate this back into his main story of One Piece. So it's a nice way to pay homage to his earlier work.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
amazing.
love
I didn't
I
realize.
love these. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I didn't realize how recently it like just came out.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
2 months ago.
That's
Perfect
so
timing.
cool. So we do not get this. Is it safe to say we do not get this lore within One Piece proper?
Correct. Yeah, they have specifically said that Ryuma was like a legendary samurai who
Right.
who killed a dragon. So that they did say that was like the story, but you don't get any more than that like within the pages of One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Cool.
And the actual wanted story was never actually officially published in English.
Mm.
So this is the only like true like way to actually legally experience the series.
Legally.
Yeah, I do think having like these twists, like I'm like a sucker for these twists. I feel like Oda does a good job of just like in his journal like stories, like having these twists. So this feels very trademark Oda, like the way that he was able to have like a twist in a story like as short as this. He was able to kind of pull the rug from under me on this one too, like because I didn't see it coming, but I'm also the person who just like kind of like reads, enjoys like, what's in front of me, and then I just enjoy when I'm surprised.
I feel like it's also just very. It feels like a very natural progression to the way that Oda wrote this. To like the structure of it, to the humor of it, to just like, oh, this feels so just like one step away from East Blue.
Yeah,
Like the way the characters are introduced, the speed at which things unfold, even like the role of the townspeople feels like very like Orange Towny. And the thing that I realized here, after I had not read an illegal scanlation but heard a summary of it on the One Piece wiki, back in high school, because I'm a good Christian boy who loves the lost. Was that the scene where Flair sees Shirano and DR gloating hilariously about their exploits? It felt so much like Nami realizing that Arlong had tipped the Navy off.
yeah,
And Ryuma just standing outside of the bar felt so much like Luffy giving Nami the hat, but in less words and less actions. So
yeah.
it's really cool to see like how that kind of story beat, which I feel like we've seen like in different ways throughout One Piece even has been just such a trope that Oda has. I don't want to say a trope, but I guess just like a motif that he has always had in his mind, a device he's always enjoyed using, and it always pulls off well.
Yeah. And now that you mention it, I actually just realized that like the Shirino reveal is kind of like the Kuro reveal.
100%.
Mm.
So yeah, you get the same kind of like, oh man, like that person that I trusted like betrayed me, and they were like a villain. They've been deceiving me this whole time. So yeah, that's a connection I just made.
Does DR give like fusion buggy Usopp vibes to you? With like a little more like actual serial killer?
I mean, this guy has no like. DR is the least competent aside from like, oh, I can control the dragon or whatever. It's like, sure, whatever. But like Buggy at least has some level of competence. He actually put up a fight. So
Oh yeah.
I think that's an insult to Buggy. But visually, I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like DR is just he's more like outwardly villainous, but like he's also I can see like the Usopp thing where he was kind of playing up like, oh no, I've been stabbed. Like he's being very like theatrical. Like but yeah, I can see it. Yeah, so what'd you guys think of Ryuma as a character? Because in One Piece, we don't actually get Ryuma's personality because we just have Brook's shadow and like embodying Ryuma. So we actually get Ryuma as a character here. So what do you guys actually think of the main character of the story?
He really kind of goes out of his way to just be like, do you think I can't dig myself deeper? Because I'm just about to, motherfucker. Like, it's just like, okay. To the point where it's just like, okay, because of this, I'm like, I was even more convinced Cyrano is a fake. Because I'm like, how can you have this guy continue to be just the most tactless asshole in the world and have him be your protagonist? It's just like, or like main character. I don't know. So, but it was really funny. But
I mean, we do have Luffy at One Piece, and he's pretty tactful.
we do, but like in a certain sense, Luffy, I don't know. And also there was a certain level of like, you didn't realize how competent Ryuma was, and I feel like you know about that with Luffy. Luffy is much more willing to show just how competent he is much more quickly. Though Ryuma does, like, he's always like, you knocked into me, time to fight! But he also very, I don't know, it seemed to quickly stop, so.
I'll say he gives more Zoro vibes, but Ryuma has some Will of D vibes. I would say I enjoy him a lot. I was sorry, he's just a good guy.
Good guy.
His last speech to Flair at the end, that really tugged at the heartstrings. And to me, it's just like, oh, this guy is. To me, I feel there's something. The thing that I love about Luffy is that the way that he is good is the fact that he is not doing it for accolades, for glory, for validation, for even the idea of being good. He just does it. Yeah. And Ryuma doesn't know he's the king. He doesn't know people laud his praises. He doesn't know people talk about him saving them. There's just something very heartwarming about that. I love the guy. I love him.
Yeah, I thought he had good character traits and was very like chivalrous throughout.
Yeah.
Like trying to keep, the waitress in the dark there on the scheme. I thought that was a very chivalrous move. Instead of being like, ha, told you so, look, like, I was right all along, haha. I think he took the high road and tried to keep that from her.
Yeah.
And continue painting himself as a villain if it meant that her vision of Shirino didn't get tainted,
Yeah, I think it's very telling of his character, and the show's like he's very caring. Like, yeah, so like he was quick to be like, hey, let's fight. Like it's a little silly with like the swords bumping and him being like, all right, let's fight. But like it also kind of shows like he's like a serious warrior. But at the same time, he does care about people. He's very grateful that Flair decides to let him eat. And then, like you said, like he's concerned about how Flair is going to react to find out that this person that she looked up to so much, like, is the person who like caused like all the things that like kind of ruined her life. So like, you know, Shirino had her parents killed and
Directly killed one of them.
yeah.
Well, I mean, sort of all of them, but
Yeah,
like,
but like one of them was like, "Oh, save me," and then it was like father. Like,
just the
oh
most,
no,
like,
another one killed by the dragon.
uh-oh.
That was so cold.
Brutal.
Yeah, so yeah, I think Ryuma is a very fun character, and like you said, like it's also like really cool to find out like, oh, he's the one that's the king. He's like not really aware of this like reputation that he has. He's like, oh, that guy sounds really cool. I want to fight him someday. Like, I want to fight. Like, I want to fight against like the best swordsman. You know, sounds like somebody else who might know.
Like it makes me want to see him go on this quest to find the king and fight him. And I just want to see the realization, like, oh, me? Huh.
I think you'd probably be disappointed.
Yeah.
I think so. Which it's just like such a great way to like give your character like struggle and difficulty. That's so the fact that that's just baked in is amazing.
Yeah, and then Flair, we have unfortunately I feel like we don't really have too much for Flair. Like I think she again shows that she is a very caring person and that she feeds Ryuma out of kindness. And then she does have a very emotional arc here because like her whole world gets flipped upside down in front of her. But she, you know, she like regrets like feeding Ryuma when she finds out like, oh, like, he's gonna be the cause of the dragon coming in, not realizing the full details. But then yeah, finding out that like her hero is the one that like ruined her life. And she has to find like the strength to keep going after that. So she does pick herself back up, but she was ready to die, you know, with the town. But like Ryuma kind of helps her, like refine like that spark to keep living.
It was very, very explicitly emotionally dark for her in a way that I was just I had forgotten about, and something I wasn't quite as used to seeing here.
Yeah. Yeah, it did feel a little yeah, a little like, oh wow, okay, he's going there.
Yeah, really.
She feels kind of like a proto Kaya, and in a lot of ways, and a proto. And I want to preface this when I say it, I'm not saying this is like a bad thing, but she's very much in the archetype of like the very there's a non-zero amount of damsel characters in One Piece, and she's like she fits that mold pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's not a mold that's inherently bad. Tropes are not inherently bad. And I think it works in this scenario, and in terms of it's a very archetypical like deconstruction of the knight in shining armor. So why not also have a deconstruction of the damsel in a way, though? And it just it feels like I've seen this character before from Oda, and this is kind of that seed that grows into a couple more in One Piece. But thankfully, there's plenty of other characters that aren't that archetype. So, but yeah, she serves her purpose well, and I mean that. And this, it sounds weird to say, she serves her purpose well, but like she fits the mold she needs to, and it's a fun little tale. Yeah,
like
so,
a role in the story.
Except when it gets really dark, like you said, yes, but.
Yeah, I do think like if like the story kept going, she would probably not be a character that like would go along like with the rest of the story. I think she's a character that would be here in the town. Maybe she would.
Yeah, she might show up again later, like 50 chapters from now, and like in a cover story. One of the cover stories, like, hey, it's Flair's new adventures or something on the moon. She's fighting things on the moon.
I mean, to your credit, Sean, I think you're very much right about that being the trope, and I appreciate you pointing that out to me. I do appreciate the fact that there is a lot of specificity to her at the same time, and the fact that I'm not necessarily sure agency would be the right word, but she at the very least has a significant amount of weight that the standard damsel trope doesn't always get to. So it was nice to see that for her, and I'm glad that she was an emotional core of this short story.
Yeah, she's
definitely the depth of the character.
She is at least very much considered. I would say, a main character of the story, even if doesn't mean she's jumping around and slaying the dragon, but that she's not a background detail.
Yeah.
For whatever you may say her agency or lack of, she is front and center and is a central part of the driving narrative of what they're trying to show here. Of like, she led to the birth of Cyrano's reputation today, because like he wouldn't have been able to find the level of success and stuff if he hadn't been like, wait, what if I flip this thing around? If everyone had just died, including her, it would have been harder for them to do their next scheme, even if only a little bit. So it makes it that much worse. It's like, oh shit, not only did he kill all my friends, but my family and my village, but because he saved me and he gets to play the hero and I believed it all, he gets even that much more power.
Sean, can I ask you a question, actually? This is
Please do. Yep, sorry.
No, you're fine. This is something that this is a question I can't answer myself because I just watched it and like brain processing things. How do you feel the effect of her conversation with Ryuma? What effect do you feel like her conversation with Ryuma outside after the whole ploy of blowing the horn and DR getting killed affected it? Because to me, I've been in the place of, oh man, Ryuma's just such a good guy. But I'm like, man, did she have an effect on his choices in this too? Because he does say he's an outsider. I feel like there's just more to it. I'm wondering if you might have any elucidation on this.
I'm not really. I think yeah, you could see it that way, that she put a crack into his, like, the whole it's not my town or something. It's like, yeah, but then why didn't you just leave and let the dragon kill everyone? No, you stayed to kill the dragon because you're ultimately a good guy at heart and you wanted to save these people. And so I think, yeah, I don't really have much more to add beyond that, but I think the and it is a nice moment of her standing up and being like, you were, what the fuck, dude? Like I gave you this food and you're still, and now you're literally repeating my childhood trauma again. It's like,
Yeah. I do think that Flare is kind of the main reason why Ryuma stays and fights the dragon.
Yeah,
because if Flare had left with everybody else, like I don't know if he really has like necessarily a reason to stay and fight the dragon and like try to save her. But like I don't know if he would have put his life at risk to save the to kill the dragon if like Flare had evacuated as well.
Because he does say to Shirno,
it's not my town.
Well, he says, everyone's gonna be fine.
Oh yeah,
yeah, everybody left.
So I think you're completely right, Joel.
And at the end, he states his motivation was to pay her back for the free meal.
Right.
It's such a good line.
Yeah. You gave me some food. I killed the dragon. Yeah, they're equal. Yeah. It's like the same amount of effort went into it.
Small token of thanks.
You give an Odo protagonist food, they will fight.
Call you to the gates of hell.
Yeah, so how about we've already been kind of touching upon it, but like Shirano as the villain, yeah, completely despicable, and like the worst you could be, because like, he did really take advantage of Flare's situation and exploited her and tried to just use her as an opportunity, and was using that as a way to gain fame and fortune and kind of live a good life off of something he caused. And yeah, I just think that like this is like the most despicable character like you can think of right now.
Yeah, pure evil.
Yeah, like I said, like I was like, I knew there's something up, but I don't think anyone's first time reading this, they really thought, not only is this guy lying, I think he is a like cackling serial killer. Like, does anyone like I fully expect most people like, something's fishy about this fellow.
Yeah.
But I don't think they expect the fish to be like a giant freaking rotten salmon. Like
yeah.
I can't speak to my first time experiencing this story because it was a summary a long time ago.
Of course.
But I feel like this time it was like, man, I feel like if I didn't know this, it would be very easy to see him being the braggart, like we said, who eventually like begrudgingly works with Ryuma and being like that first friend, the way that Zoro was for Luffy. But I'm very glad we just went with him being an absolute piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's equally, if not more, engaging.
You ever have to wonder if someone like years later or something is like finds Mihawk and is like, I bet you're just like the other guy. You're just all talk and nothing. And he's just like, nope. I just took the style unintentionally.
I feel like I'm developing a crack theory where
Uh-oh.
because this is canon that Shirano is actually Mihawk's ancestor and is the stain on his family legacy.
And that's why he worked so hard to become the world's greatest swordsman.
Yes, to reclaim it.
I had to make up for this guy.
Oh wait, oh my god! Wait a second.
We're cooking.
All right. Yes.
But yeah, with this also being in the One Piece world, we do have like a dragon. So we know dragons existed at one point.
Yep.
Pretty sick.
Pretty sweet looking dragon too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the music was actually really cool. When Ryuma came in and like slayed the dragon, like it got me pretty hyped. I thought the music was really cool in that scene.
It was just a sudden transition to black and white when he squares off against Shirano.
Yeah, that I also wanted to mention that too, because like the fight with Shirano was also very gratifying.
Mm-hmm.
So when they have like the rematch, because like Shirano actually like did best Ryuma, but it's kind of like why, like what about that situation made it so that Ryuma had a loss against Shirano, but then when he actually legitimately fights him later, like he like destroys him, like he wrecks him so hard, he's not getting up. And so did anybody else like kind of like wonder like?
Yeah, I still have an answer.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I think that implies that Shirano actually has some level of skill.
Yeah, but it's just like it's the level of like Axhan Morgan versus like current day Zoro or something. So it's like, yeah.
Okay, if y'all down to ride this weird roller coaster.
Oh boy.
I know. I'm gonna try and keep it relatively short. I guess I'm trying to think of, okay, why did that happen? I'm trying to tie it back into like just I guess Ryuma's arc throughout the whole thing. Because the thing we don't see from him at the end anymore is this whole Warrior's Honor. I want to challenge this person because blah 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 blah. I don't know what this means thematically for it, but I guess just like the level of purpose to the fight. I feel like that might have been the reason for the initial loss and then the initial win, I guess. But that's tenuous, and I don't have much evidence for it.
Yeah, I think I'm very curious because I do legitimately wonder, because Ryuma is such a serious like warrior, and he challenged him because of the scabbards touching. So he's taking the situation seriously. But it seems like that fight isn't taken quite seriously, or maybe he wasn't expecting Shirano to actually be skilled, even though he was being told that he's a great swordsman. So you would think you wouldn't come in at like 0, being like, oh man, like I'm not gonna give this guy like an effort. But then, like, does Shirano then like later on not take Ryuma seriously, and that's why he got bested? But like Ryuma is technically known as the king, so that would imply that he is actually the better swordsman. But yeah, it's just a question I had when watching this. I don't think we have a good answer for it though.
I just want more Ryuma lore to get that answer now.
Yeah.
All right, SBS question.
Oh, let's go.
Did he have the nickname the King from the jump from the beginning of the episode?
Yeah, because the bartender was telling about this person like known as the world's greatest swordsman called the King, and nobody knows who he is. So the bartender was telling the story to Ryuma, not realizing he was talking to the man himself.
That's right.
And Rima was like, "Oh wow, that sounds really cool. I want to meet that guy."
I definitely thought they were talking about like an actual monarch.
Yeah, I think at first,
He's
I
got
thought the same thing too. Yeah.
interesting world building. Okay, huh?
So you have to be the world's greatest swordsman to be the ruler of this kingdom. I got it. Okay,
Nothing could go wrong.
that's how this world works. And then also speaking of like being at the bar, in the fight with Shirano, people were wondering what kind of sword Rima has because he was able to cut through the bronze statue.
Mm.
And again, that was Shusui, so that's the sword that Zoro just got. So pretty exciting there. All right. Yeah. So I mean, we've really talked about the entire episode. The only other character really is Dr. But like, there's not really too much more to talk about him there either.
He has like a mushroom head, like a weird,
like broccoli hair.
Like what is that dude's deal? Like, so because like, okay, it's the One Piece world, so it could be any number of things, honestly. But like everybody else in this show, in this episode, in this looks like a normal human being mostly, except for this one dude who's got DR across his face, pale clown skin makeup, and the most ridiculous hair. So just like, I am gonna deliberately go out of my way to look like a fucking weirdo, I guess. I don't know.
Like you said, it's One Piece world, so
It is One Piece, yeah.
You gotta have one of them in there.
You gotta have at least one of those.
It's obligatory.
I get very big early Android from Dragon Ball Z vibes.
Oh wow, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. All I have to say about DR, that's all I have.
That's all I got. Yeah.
But like, it's also like such an odd name. His name is just 2 letters. It's just DR. Does it stand for something? Like,
what is
Dragon Wrangler?
Doctor.
Dr. Dragon Wrangler.
Oh my god. I can't.
That's why he's so proud of like having his name. So like, yeah. Wait, well, what's the DR stand for? Oh yeah, just like wrangle dragons.
They ran out of paper when I walked the stage. They just tattooed me.
He's like, yeah, they incorrectly tattooed DR on my face. I have to find a reason to have it. So he's like, all right, well, I guess I can wrangle dragons. That's not my calling in life. He's like, here, I'll show you how I can do it. Get this dragon horn.
Okay, that's the SBS question.
What's DR stand for?
Yeah. Did he always have it? Did he have to find a purpose for it, Oda? Sure, yeah, man. I planned it all along, yeah.
All right, so you guys have any closing thoughts on the episode?
I feel like Hiro Mashima read this specifically before writing Fairy Tail. I don't know. Like this just gives. I'm watching the first.
There's something I haven't heard in a long time.
Like here, like Fairy Tail very much has like One Piece influence, but I'm looking. It's like this feels like the closest thing to like both of these at the same time. And I legit wonder if this was like part of. This is a Venn diagram, by the way. I wonder if this is a part of. Or if this is a part of his inspiration. I don't know, and it'd be really cool if it was.
Could be.
Yeah.
I'll say no further.
Yeah.
Was there anything specific about Fairy Tail that you feel like could have been inspired by this, or is it just like the vibes?
Actually, I'd say like the whole the nature of the conflict between Ryuma and Shirano, and more so about like Ryuma's place as the king. Because
okay.
Yeah, so has everyone here read the first chapter of Fairy Tail?
Well, I've read Fairy Tail, but I'm not sure if listeners may be familiar with the story of Fairy Tail.
So basically, Fairy Tail starts with all right. I know Fairy Tail can become a lot of things. I never finished it. I dropped off of it. I feel it has a place in the shonen canon.
I enjoyed Fairy Tail. I've read Fairy Tail all the way through. Yeah.
I was talking about what I was going to say, but those for like life reasons, not Fairy Tail reasons. But basically the whole thing is that like there's this guy saying, they call me Salamander. I'm the fire mage. I'm kind of the shit. And this guy wanders into town. And he's like, cool. He makes friends with like the this mage girl who's there. turns out this guy who's saying he's Salamander is the villain of the story. He's like, it's trafficking, blah, blah, just a lot of bad stuff. And the guy who wants in town ends up beating him with fire magic. And it's like, no, yeah, I'm Salamander.
Oh, okay.
And that
I
feels
see where you're
very
coming from.
similar. Yeah, also, I
Okay.
guess the way the exposition went too, the pacing of it, and this might be a first chapter shonen thing, but I've been reading a lot of first chapters lately, and this may be a genre evolving over time sort of thing, but something just felt very similar about the presentation and I guess the pacing of it and then the way it was structured.
Yeah, honestly, I also did kind of get like Rave Master, like influence as well. Not like very explicit, just like in general. So this one actually did invoke Rave Master for me as well, which would make sense with the fairy tale thing you're saying.
Interesting.
Yeah. So any other closing thoughts?
I want to short about all of Zoro's swords legends.
Specifically the Zoro swords.
Specifically Zoro swords. Give me a short on each, please.
Please.
Yeah, I thought this was really fun. I'm glad you recommended it. It was like a nice, well-rounded story, very enjoyable. Visually, I enjoyed it. And yeah, I would recommend it to people who have or have not read Oda. Like, I definitely feel like the story feels Oda. Like, it feels like it was written by Oda for sure. But you don't have to have any kind of connection to One Piece to watch and enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
100%.
Agreed.
All right. Well, that will conclude this week's episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. You can find this episode wherever podcasts are found at We Are Reading One Piece podcast at buzzsprout.com or on our YouTube channel at We Are Reading One Piece. This is a spoiler-free channel up to where we have recorded the podcast. So if you're new to the series, you can visit the channel there. You can also find me and this podcast on my YouTube channel at Pirate King Codex for more One Piece content. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can reach us at wearereadingonepieces@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from listeners, so if you're enjoying the show, or if you have any suggestions on how we can make it better, just let us know. Next episode, we'll be discussing Volume 49, Nightmare Luffy. I've been Joel, and I've been joined by Sean.
This has been Sean.
Evan.
Yo.
And Cody.
Hello, and goodbye.
Be sure to bring along all of your hopes and dreams, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Don't touch my scabbard.
Are you?